Hare Krishna. So today we'll try to cover. The last 3 verses from this section of the Gopi Gita. In the previous verse, we discussed about how the gopis felt abandoned by Krishna, and they are expressing that longing to him by saying that, we gave up everything for you, how can you abandon us? And now that same theme is being continued when they are saying that, Krishna, you actually were not so unloving. In fact, the current behavior is completely opposite to the way you have yourself behaved with us before. Here you seem so cold-hearted and apathetic. But previously, you were so loving. So there they are describing here, rahasi samvidam, that in our private discussions, ruchayodayam, you spoke words that deeply touched our hearts. Now, there are expressions of affection, expressions of intimacy, expressions of great, great love. You have spoken those words. And those words have stayed as permanent treasures in our heart. That is how, by remembering your words of love, we continue in separation from you. But now, those loving words and the present actions, which seem so unloving, that just doesn't gel. So, prahasitananam prema vikshanam. And where there's just a soft word is spoken, sweet word spoken to delude us. No, we saw your expressions. Sometimes some people can be very deceptive, but it's very difficult to be a liar 100% of the time. There are always some things which give us away. And so they say that it was not just the words you are speaking. Like sometimes somebody may speak very warm words, welcome, but their eyes are so cold. Isn't it? That welcoming words don't seem to reflect on their face. Mm-hmm. But it says that prahasitananam prema vikshanam. We saw that not only were your words affectionate, but also your face was smiling with joy and prema vikshanam. Your eyes were filled with love. And it was with love that you were glancing at us. So now the ikshanam is to see. Vikshanam refers to see from the sides, like sidelong glance. And the gopis repeatedly refer to this vikshanam of Krishna because the times when they meet Krishna on a one-to-one basis are very few. But while Krishna is talking with the Gopas, while Krishna is talking with other Vrajavasis, while Krishna is herding the cows, Krishna often is a sidelong glance. So that he's looking at one thing, but he's also looking somewhere else. And that shows Krishna's interest in affection. That yes, Krishna has an obligation. That is, they live in a particular society and the gopis and Krishna are not related formally through marriage. So Krishna cannot publicly be with the gopis. But still his heart's longing is to be with Krishna. That's what is indicated through the emphasis on the sidelong glances. Say, we have come to a particular ceremony or event to meet a particular person. And then somebody else meets us and is hogging all our time. Now we may be talking with them out of politeness, but our eyes are anxious. Where is that other person? I hope that person doesn't leave. I want to meet them before that person. So what happens is, our eyes are going elsewhere while you're talking with them. So like that, prema vikshanam, Krishna's heart is with the gopis. And that's what they have inferred from his loving glances. Bruhad ura shriyo. And then they're saying that Krishna, you embraced us and you gave us shelter on your chest. And your chest was so large and broad and sheltering. Bruhad ura shriyo. And when we were sheltered on those, and that chest of yours, we remembered that Vikshadhamate, that Shriya, that is actually, this is the abode of the goddess of fortune. So where Lakshmi Devi gives shelter, there you have given us shelter. And remembering those intense expressions of love and those experiences that we have had, what is happening is, Muhur, we are remembering them again and again, and Ati Spruha. That Spruha is desire. That desire is becoming extremely strong. Muhur Ati Spruha Muhiyate Manaha. Generally, desire can be at different degrees. So, when the desire, you could say, if you consider, say, if you consider, say, desire and, say, movement. So normally, if the desire is weak, it doesn't cause much movement. I feel like eating something, I feel like watching something, but maybe I'll do it later. But as the desire starts becoming stronger and stronger, then the urge to move, if the urge to eat something is very strong, if an alcoholic has a very strong desire to drink alcohol, then that desire makes them move. But then, when the desire becomes extremely strong, it becomes so strong that a person doesn't even know what to do. The desire can sometimes be binding. Binding means it binds us, but not the way, say, a prisoner is bound to a cellar, to a prison cell. The desire, they bind us, they are like puppeteers' strings. They bind us and they pull us. But the desire can also be blinding. So, blinding means sometimes we are blind to the consequences of what we are doing. But sometimes we become blind to even think, what should I do now? Like if somebody who is an alcoholic and they have been put in a alcohol recovery center, where they are put in restraints. There's no alcohol available, there's no way to escape from there. And the urge becomes very strong. They just don't know what to do now. So, muhyate manaha. So the desire has become so strong that our mind has become bewildered. We just don't know what to do. So normally desire can, so when it's a sattva, the desire is relatively weak. Then if you see externally, sattva and tamas look very similar. A person sattva guna and a person tamo guna, both may be sitting. But one person is sitting and thinking, and the second is sitting and thinking when I can stop thinking. When I can just go to sleep, or when I can get out of here. They're just wandering. So, in Rajas especially, there is strong activity. So, now the gopis are saying that we've done what we could, but we just don't know what to do anymore. So, muhur ati spruha, that the desire has become very strong for us. Now, this particular correlation between these two things, that our memories and our desires, this is something which is important for us to figure out. Often when we think about remembering Krishna, there is a Bhakti said, always remember Krishna. So remembrance can be more of an intellectual activity. Or remembrance can also be emotionally infused, emotionally permeated, emotionally surcharged. Now both aspects are important. But among these two, which one is more important in Bhakti? The emotional aspect is more important. Once on the Janmashtami day, or before Janmashtami, I had written an article about Krishna for a newspaper, Times of India. And I had described Krishna in very beautiful ways. His hair and his face and his whole appearance. And I felt very happy about the way Krishna had been described. And then when Janmashtami we came for darshan in the morning, 4:30. So I was taking darshan and I was remembering that description of Krishna that I had written. And I was very immersed. And then somehow during that immersion, it struck me that actually I was relishing more the words describing Krishna than Krishna himself. It is, now that's not a bad thing. Like sometimes we may look at the beauty of Krishna. So if we have done the dressing, then we may look at the dressing, and the dressing is connected with Krishna, no doubt. But sometimes we focus on the dressing and delight in the dressing more than Krishna. Isn't it? So what happens is that for all of us, the remembrance, it has to move toward Krishna. Now, for the gopis, they have a very personal relationship with Krishna. And for them, they are describing personal attributes. So, the test of whether what we are remembering, generally, after remembrance, our desire needs to increase. Now, this is the theme which Krishna talks about in 12.9 also. Athachittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai sthiram. That na shaknosi. That if you cannot remember me constantly, then practice remembering me. Abhyasa yogena tato. What should happen after that? Mam ichaptum dhananjaya. So the abhyas, the practice of remembrance, needs to translate into the desire for Krishna. So what happens sometimes is that in the Western world you may have heard this phenomena called SBNR. Has anyone heard this? SBNR? Yes, spiritual but not religious. So that some people often say that, I want to be spiritual, I want to be open-minded, I want to explore. It's a whole demographic of people, a large demographic. And increasingly it is coming to India also. And there are quite a few very popular spiritual teachers who cater to this demographic. And they will often very proudly say, actually I have not read any Ramayana, I have not read any Bhagavatam, I have not read any Vedas. And in those audiences, by saying this, you actually gain credibility. You don't lose credibility. Because for these audiences, spiritual but not religious, if you quote too much scripture, their idea is, that just shows you can't think for yourself. That just shows that you have no original thought at all. All that it shows is, you are just like a ventriloquist or a dummy. And you have let yourself become brainwashed, and you're letting someone else control you. That's why mind control is an extremely deadly word in the Western world. Because in India, when we use the word mind control, we talk about we controlling our mind. But in the West, mind control refers to others controlling your mind. So that's why mind control groups and mind control cults, things like that. So we practically, how to control your mind? No, never give a class like that in the West. They talk about how to be mindful, how to manage your mind. But control your mind. No. Its control is actually a trigger word for most people. But anyway, so there is this whole group of spiritual but not religious. Now, and they often criticize certain groups of people, and they use the other acronym, RBNS. What is that? Yes, religious but not spiritual. So they say that, you people are so diligent in following your rules, but what is the result of that? And it can happen sometimes. See, ultimately, there are practices. We all have our particular practices. We may have our morning waking up, we may have our chanting a particular number of rounds. Other religions may have their own particular practices. Now, the practices are meant to lead to certain values. So, for example, for us, chanting is meant to lead us to love for Krishna. Or if love for Krishna is far away, we can say at least, compassion for others, kindness, sensitivity, absorption, whatever we want to say. So, love for Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, is translated into love for other living beings. So, sometimes in our practice of bhakti, what happens is, when we are practicing, we get too focused on the practices and we forget the values that are meant to be develop through the practices. And we value diligence in the practice much more than the values that are to be developed through the practice. So when that happens, this is like the breeding ground for fanaticism. So if we become very, very diligent about our practices, that's good. But if you forget the values that are supposed to come through it, then we become very judgmental about everyone based on whether they are adhering to those practices or not. And then that can make us very cold in dealing with others. So the point is that for us, the remembrance of Krishna, which we try to practice through our sadhana, is meant to soften our heart. Soften our heart with love for Krishna and love for others. If not love for others, at least kindness for others. Compassion towards others, sensitivity towards others. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur basically says that Bhakti, he talks about this in multiple places, but especially Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Bhakti leads to a softened heart. And a softened heart directed toward Krishna is prema. And when directed toward others, it is daya, it is compassion. So it's the same softening of the heart. But if we get too caught in just the rigid discipline of the practice, it's important, no doubt. It's not to downplay it. But it is, as they say in English, sometimes we miss the forest for the woods. We get so caught in looking at the trees that we miss the forest. So like that, there is the ideal situation is where there are the practices and there are the values which are meant to be developed through the practices. But the best is we have the practices and we have the values. Now if we have the practices and not the values, it is good if we are moving in this direction. If we are not moving in that direction, moving anywhere else, then that will make us fanatical. Now if we have values but not the practices, that is also good, but eventually one should move in this direction. Like, can some people just be kind and compassionate and regulated without necessarily practicing anything? It's possible. They might have a good upbringing. They might have had good samskaras from a previous life. And that's why they have those values. But then, just those values are not necessarily going to take them to Krishna. Just those values are not going to automatically translate into love of God. So practice is also required. So if the values don't take them away from practice, then it becomes just mundane goodness, which may not last for very long. Now, of course, if there are no values and there are no practices, then that is definitely a bad thing. So, for here, we see the gopis' memory. The reason why we're talking about in this particular verse is, the gopis' memories are leading to desires, leading to longing for Krishna. So, muhur ati spruha. We are very strongly longing for you, Krishna. So let's sing this once and then we'll go to the next verse. Okay.
Rahase samvedam rechayodayam prahasitananam prema vekshanam Brahadorah Shriyo Vikshadhamate Brahadorah Shriyo Vikshadhamate Muhurati Spriha Muyate Manaha Murati Spriha Muyate
Vrajavanau kasam vyaktirangate. So the gopis are saying that as they're singing to Krishna, they're on the banks of the Yamuna and they're observing the lotus plants over there, the lotus flowers, they're observing the wilderness. And they're saying, Krishna, that your disappearance has not just affected us, it has affected everyone. Vrajavanau kasam. All the living beings in Vraja are feeling desolate, abandoned. They are feeling completely pointless. Vyaktirangate. That it is only your manifestation. Vyaktir is the manifestation, your appearance. Anga, oh beloved. When you appear, oh dear one. Vrujin hantriyalam. That the agony that everybody is feeling because of your non-manifestation, because of your disappearance, that you alone can remove it. Vishwamangalam. And you can bring auspiciousness to the whole universe. Tyajamanakchanas tvat spruhatmanam. So they are saying that same mood of spruha, ati spruha was there. So tvat spruhatmanam. They are saying it's not just desires are present within us, but actually our mind is made of nothing but desires. This prihatmanam is similar in the Bhagavad Gita to kamatmanah swargapara. So not just they have kama, but it's almost as if their atma is made of kama. Right? That becomes their defining, driving desire, and there's nothing. Being is made of desire, longing for you. Teja manakchanas. So they are saying that this mind that is filled with such desire, that it is tormented by that such desire. So the mind which is like this, teja, it's only you can release it from that lock of desire that is tormenting it. So swajana rajam yannishudanam. So this lock that the desire for you has placed on our heart, on our inner world, it is like a disease. And you, O Lord, are the medicine. Tyaja mana jana swajana rudarujam. So rudarujam is the disease of your own people. So yannishudanam. You, O Lord, are the one. By your appearance, you can counter this. So in this way, basically, they are saying, for all living beings and especially for us, please return. Yes, we can sing once.
Vrajavanau kasam vyaktirangate. Vrejena hantryalam vishwamangalam. Tyajamanakchanas tvat sprihatmana. Swajanare drujam yannishudanam.
Here, the gopis are talking about how their concern is not just for themselves, it is for others also. They are saying that Krishna, even if we have done something to offend you, You have left, and your leaving has not just left us abandoned, it has left everyone else abandoned. So please return. Well, there are many ways they are making the request. Here, the request has two distinct dimensions. One is, it is for everyone else, and the second is, it's only you who can free us from the agony that we are going through. So in Bhakti, we understand that actually a blessing for one is meant to be a blessing for everyone. A blessing for one. So if somebody has been blessed, say with the ability to sing, with the ability to speak, with the ability to decorate the deities, that blessing for one is meant to be a blessing for everyone. So through the way they use their blessing in Krishna's service, then that can become a blessing for everyone. Because in general, remembrance of Krishna, it is difficult. So it is difficult, but it can be made not easy, but easier. And easier it can be made through various aids, various resources. And generally speaking, if we consider the principle of vibhuti, and it's interesting, which chapter in the Bhagavad Gita talks about vibhuti? Chapter 10. Now, if you see in chapter 10, that the Chaturshloki Gita, and what does 10.8 state? The first verse in the Gita? Aham sarvasya prabhavo. He says, I am the source of everything. And yet, one of the last verses is 41, which says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimadurjitam eva va tattad evava gachatvam mama tejo amsha sambhava. So, Krishna is saying here, the attractiveness of everything attractive comes from me. Now, in one sense, if everything comes from Krishna, then it's implied that the attractiveness of attractive things also comes from Krishna. So why does Krishna have to specifically state and emphasize that? That the attractiveness of everything attractive is, doesn't just come from me, but he also adds one important detail is, Mama Tejo Amsha Sambhava. It's just a spark, it's just a part of my splendor. So why does he need to emphasize that? If somebody says, oh, everything in this house is owned by me, that particular trophy, that is also mine. That particular sofa, that's mine. That jewelry is mine. Well, if everything in the place is that person's, then obviously specifics are also belonging to that person. Now the point is that, yes, Krishna is the source of everything is a philosophical truth. But Krishna is the source of everything attractive. That is a practical aid for remembrance. What happens is, although everything comes from Krishna, it is not that everything attracts our consciousness. It is not that everything in this world is what we are drawn to remember. Isn't it? We meet many people, but some people may have some special attribute. Maybe they are very good looking, maybe they are very well spoken, maybe they are very intelligent. When we see somebody with something special, then that's what we remember that person. That's how we remember that person, and that's what we remember about that person. Isn't it? So, yes, everyone comes from Krishna ultimately. But when we think about people, we remember those who have special attributes, generally speaking. Now, of course, we are going to have a deeper relationship. We try to understand the person deeper, and then we find that everybody has something special. But some people's speciality just stands out. And some people's speciality is buried deep within. And that has to be dug out. So the thing is that when Krishna is talking about remembering him, which was the theme that came afterwards. Arjuna's question was also, Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagwan maya. How can I remember you, O Lord? So then Krishna is telling over here, the things that you tend to remember in this world, the things that you get attracted to and that you remember in this world, know that their capacity to attract you, that comes from me. So in this way, there's a philosophical truth, everything comes from Krishna. But a practical aid for remembrance is that the attractiveness of everything attractive comes from Krishna. So therefore, when I said that a blessing in one is a blessing, meant to be a blessing for everyone, then what are the aids? The aids are attractive things in bhakti. So somebody who has singing ability, when they sing beautifully, everybody may sing, but some people's singing is so captivating. Then if they use it in Krishna's service, then that becomes an aid for others to remember. Everybody may decorate the deities. Everybody who is trained and certified as a pujari. But then some people may have exquisite decorating ability. And when they decorate, it just captivates. Everybody may speak Krishna's message, but some people may have a way with words. When they speak those words, or when they use their way with words to come up with some memorable phrases, then that becomes an aid for us to remember. So the idea is that each one of us, we need aids for remembering. And it is important for us to create those aids. So when we seek the remembrance of Krishna in our heart, it is not just for our selfish purposes. It is not just for our elevation. We are meant to actually also express our devotion, express even our desire for devotion, using whatever blessings we have. So in one sense, in our bhakti, there is the world around us, there is Krishna above us. So with Krishna, there is a connection that we establish. And toward the world, there is a contribution. And that contribution, among the many things, is in terms of aids for remembrance. So now, when we have a temple over here, we have a center over here, this is an aid for remembrance. Now all of you are working together to build a magnificent temple. That is going to be a more attractive aid for remembrance for many more people. So in one sense, even our seva is about remembrance. Our seva is to help create aids for others to remember Krishna. So the gopis, when they're talking about Vishwamangalam, and Krishna, when you manifest, it is not just for me, it is for everyone. When we chant the invocation prayers before we give classes, it is so that Krishna will manifest through our words, so that Krishna will attract others' hearts also. So Krishna's appearance, when we seek it, it is for Vishwamangalam. It is for the benefit of everyone. What is that verse? Nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. What is Jagat Mangalam? There's another verse then. Jagat Mangalam Amasa. Masam Hare. Which is that verse? Anyway, that is Jagat Mangalam, Vishwa Mangalam, the similar theme. Tasmat Sankirtanam Yasya Jagat Mangalam Amasam. Jagat Mangalam Amasam. Yes, right. So Jagat Mangalam, that the glorification of the Lord is meant to bring about auspiciousness for the whole world. So this is our purpose. The second point the gopis are making over here is that Krishna, you are the medicine. You are the medicine. That Tvats Pruhat Manam. See, generally speaking, if we talk about desires, like I earlier mentioned, that the desire can be either too little or it can be too much. And either extreme becomes a problem. So if somebody has no desire for something, even in material life, if they have no desire, then actually they cannot take up any responsibility. Why would anybody do something? Now, if somebody has too much desire, then that can also overwhelm them. What happens is, we are souls, we have our minds, and then we have our body. So now desire is present in the mind. Now the desire is meant to activate the body. But if the desire is too little, then it's like the current is not enough to activate the body. But it's like energy, current is energy. It has to be activated. So, if we consider desire to be like a current, then it is too little. Then, like some people, you have to, if they have no desire to chant, and then they fall asleep, we wake them up, and then they again fall asleep. Now, if somebody just sleeping again and again, how often can we wake them up? They have to have some desire. If we can help those who are unable, but we can never help those who are unwilling. So, some desire has to be there inside, then we can actually be of some assistance to them. So, if it's too little, then there is practically no motion. But then if the desire becomes too much, it's like the desire is so much in the mind that our entire consciousness gets caught in the mind only. When the desire is too much in the mind, then it does not come out to the level of the body. So that can also become a problem, because a person with the desire starts imagining, fantasizing, and they can just become disconnected with the physical reality, because the desire in the mind has created a mental image which completely consumes them. So, it's like somebody's loved one has passed away. Now, if their desire for them is too strong, they keep seeing that person everywhere. And they may even talk with that person. They have what call it apparitions they feel they have. Now, that may be a natural part of grieving and healing. But eventually, that has to decrease. Now, we have to let go of that person. So, desire is too strong or too weak is a problem. Now, for us in Bhakti, we can talk about desire in terms of material desires, or we can talk about desire in terms of spiritual desires. So for us, if we consider in material, it's too less and too much. So which is the extreme for us, generally speaking? For us, material desires generally are too much. And as compared to spiritual desires, what happens is? They're less and much. It is too less for us. So this is our situation, generally speaking. But either way, if the material desires the spiritual desires are too little, it can be a problem. So this is our situation. Too less. But the gopis' situation is here. The desire is too much for them. And they are saying, because of this desire, we are completely overwhelmed. Like say, just to give the example of this extreme desire, when somebody is into drugs, and suddenly they stop taking drugs, then it's not just the craving inside that increases, there are physical symptoms. There is withdrawal pain, they call it. And sometimes people have to take some other medicinal drugs to try to decrease the symptoms of the withdrawal from that particular drug. So sometimes the craving may manifest as physical transformation also. So it's a desire, if there is too much and a person is going through withdrawal pains, they just can't do anything at that time. So now the remembrance of Krishna is a medicine for both. It is a medicine for those who have too much desire. We have the Nivritta Tarshair Upagiyamanad Bhava Aushadaj Shotra Manobhiramad. So Bhava Aushadaj, it is the medicine for material existence. But Yattama Shloka Gunanuvada Puman Virajit Vinavashugnat. So they're talking here about, for those who are materially attached, the remembrance of Krishna can activate their spiritual desires. For those who are already attracted to Krishna, for them it is Manobhiramad. Their mind will start delighting in that. And just in that remembrance itself, they will start feeling the presence of Krishna. And that's how they will get relief. So for us, it is that our remembrance of Krishna may not be because we have so much desire for His presence. It is for us to activate the desire for Krishna. So in that sense, remembrance can be out of the desire for Krishna. Because we have so much desire for Krishna, so we are remembering Him. But it can also be for the desire for Krishna. So this is at the Siddha level. We already have a desire for Krishna. Like we say, the only prize for Krishna Rasabhavitamati, for Krishna consciousness is what? Laulyam. Now that laulya seems very difficult. It's like, the only prize is something that we don't have. What do we do then? I don't have laulya. What do I do? Then I try to have the desire for Krishna. So this is the sadhaka stage. The sadhaka stage is that sometimes we may not have a natural desire for something, but we can intellectually create the desire for that thing, or it's more like the desire for that thing. I appreciate the value of this, and therefore I will seek to connect with it. So now the remembrance of Krishna is a medicine. For the gopis, they are saying, we are filled with so much desire that we are paralyzed, Krishna. And Yannishudanam, you and your remembrance is the only medicine for what we are going through. So please, O Krishna, return. For us, we will be paralyzed because we have too little desire. But Krishna, please appear. Please manifest, O Lord. And if you manifest, that is when I will become energized with desire for you. But right now, I want to have this desire for you. So the desire for Krishna may naturally manifest in the mana. But the desire for Krishna has to manifest through the buddhi. That's why Jiva Goswami says in the Sandarbhas that till we have priti for Krishna, till we have that natural attraction for Krishna, it is our buddhi that will keep us in bhakti. If our buddhi is not strong, then, and if our priti is also not strong, then it is going to be very difficult to stay on with Krishna. We will think, what am I doing over here? So again, if we consider the same perspective, it is our buddhi and our priti. We can say is conviction here. Not just intelligence, but the buddhya dhruti gruhiteya, Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. So it is the conviction that is developed with our intelligence. So for the pure devotees, for the siddhas, it is what? Mai arpita mano buddhir. Both are there. They have the priti and they also have the buddhi. Now, for the sadhakas, we have the buddhi, but we may not have the priti right now. For the sahajiyas, what happens is, they have the priti, but they do not use their buddhi. And then what happens? Sometimes the priti is there, and sometimes the priti goes, or sometimes the priti gets misdirected. So, now of course, this is for the bhautikas, for the materialists. So, people who are simply in materialistic consciousness. They have neither the desire for Krishna, nor do they have the conviction. Asatyam apatishtamte, that is talking about, they don't have any conviction when Krishna exists or Krishna cares. And then after that, the next verse is kamam ashritya dushpuram. That their desire becomes insatiable. So this is definitely an unhealthy state. So ideally, these are good. This is questionable. This is definitely something we don't want. So for us, the buddhi can keep us in the cultivating the remembrance of Krishna, by which gradually the priti will start manifesting. So this, let us go to the last verse now. This is a different meter. Like the concluding verse over here is spoken with a fervent emotion. Yeah. So I'll quickly explain the meaning. Then yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu. That Oh Krishna, your lotus feet, Amburuham, Charan Amburuham, that Ambu is the water lotus, like lotus, Charan Amburuham, that your feet which are like lotus formed in water, Sujat, they're very exquisite, very gentle, very soft, Sujat, Staneshu. So when we put your lotus feet on our bosoms, Bhita Shanai, we are actually afraid. Priyadadimai Karkasheshu. So we feel that even the softest part of our body is too hard because your feet are so soft. And as we are thinking that those feet, Dadimai Karkasheshu, so we think this is too rough for you. Tena tavim atasitad vyatate kim swit. That tena, those lotus feet, atatim, in the forest, that they are there. And earlier also this theme has been talked about. That Shilatrunankurai Sidati Tinaha. So, tad vyatatena kim swet. So we are vyatate. We are afflicted, we are tormented. That thinking that those lotus feet are going in the forest. Kurpadhibir brahmati. There are small stones and other things in the forest. And there they are wandering. Your lotus feet are going. Dhir bhavad ayushyam naha. So our mind is very distressed by this. Oh Krishna, our life is devoted to you. So they have expressed various emotions, but at the end are saying, they are emphasizing Krishna, our concern for you, we are calling you not just for our sake, but it is for your sake. Bhavad ayushyam naha. The gopis do not know that Krishna is going to come or not going to come. But they are saying, our ayushya, our life is devoted to you. Now if you see, this was a similar theme in the first verse also. Jayatite dhikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvaditrati daita drishatam dikshutavakas tvai dhrutasavas twam vichinvate. So tvai dhrutasavas, our life is devoted to you. We are constantly thinking about you. So there's that cyclicity is there in the overall mood of the prayer. So let's recite this.
Yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu Bhita shanai priyadadhi mahi karkasheshu Tena tavim matasi tadvyatate na kim sve Kurpadibhir bhramati dhir bhavadayusham naha
Kurpadibhir bhramati dhir bhavadayusham naha. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are two moods of bhakti that are talked about. There is Tadiya and Madiya. Does anyone know these words? Tadiya and Madiya? Sorry? What does it mean? Sorry? Okay. And Madiya is what then? Okay. And that word Tadiya has different meanings. But Tadiya means, or maybe I'm getting the words wrong, maybe you can correct me if it is. I am yours and you are mine. So basically, there are these two moods of devotion that are talked about. That I offer myself to you. And, so the idea is that I offer my entire being to you and you offer your being to me. Now this is like a interpenetration of being. That it's almost as if the devotee resides within Krishna and Krishna resides in the devotee. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Maite, Krishna says, I am in them and they are in me. So this theme of the devotees are not just bonded to each other. Bonded means what? Like you are here, I am here, and there's a bond tying us together. But it's not just a bond where a separate existence is there. It's almost like an interpenetration of beings. Sadhavam hrudayam mahyam, sadhunam hrudayam tadaham. That Krishna is saying the sadhus reside in my heart and I reside in their heart. Even With respect to material nature also Krishna says, Maite teshu, no, what is that? Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasas tamasasye matta eveti matta eveti. So Krishna says, it comes from me, but I do not come from it. So there Krishna is making a difference. That even in 9.4, 9. Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham tateshu aham. Sorry, how is the verse go? How does this verse start? Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani. Sorry, come again? No? I'm thinking of some other verse then. Nachaham teshu avasthitaha. Okay, that it is situated in me, but I am not situated in it. So with respect to Prakriti, Krishna differentiates. While in one sense Krishna is there in that also. Krishna says, Andantarastha Parmanu Shayantarastham. But when Krishna is talking more in devotional terms of a relationship, the 7th chapter and 9th chapter are both in the Bhakti section of the Gita. So in the Bhakti section of the Gita, Krishna differentiates that, I, in my personal manifestation, I'm there in the material nature, but I'm not there in the personal manifestation. That as the Paramatma is there, as Bhagavan he is not there. But Krishna, with respect to devotees, he says, I am in you and you are in me. So the idea over there is that there is a very, very intimate relationship with Krishna and the devotee. Now, these two senses, a devotee offers oneself to Krishna and Krishna offers himself to the devotee. Both of them lead to this great bond. Now, among these two, I am yours. This needs to come first. And then we can claim, Krishna, you are mine. Now, if we start claiming Krishna is mine before that, we may do that. But what happens is, this is where if there is two without one, then what happens is, it's like we claim my God. And there are people who say, my God. So, what that means is, this my God becomes a fanatical claim. My God is better than your God. And people say they are fed up with it. That is my God. What are you saying? So the idea is, if we have not offered ourselves to Krishna, and without that offering ourselves to Krishna, we start claiming Krishna is mine. Is my God. That Krishna, I am yours. The conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is not Krishna, you are mine, but I am yours. Karishe vachanam tava. I will do your will. So when we have that mood, then gradually we align with Krishna. And as we align with Krishna, then Krishna becomes ours. The Bhagavatam says, Muktim dadati karichit nasma bhakti yogam. That I give mukti also very easily, but not bhakti. Because through bhakti, a devotee becomes the possession of Krishna. And Krishna will not give himself so easily. So for us, now that does not mean that till we offer ourselves to Krishna, Krishna doesn't care for us. But there is a difference between, it's like if you consider the progression, there is Krishna cares for us. That is the fundamental reality. And all our philosophical understanding, our philosophical journey, we could say, one of the first things we need to understand is that Krishna is on my side. In this world, we may feel this is going wrong and that is going wrong, and there's so many problems. Does God exist? Does God care? Yes, God is on our side, in the sense that God wants the best for us. Now, God is on our side does not mean that in every conflict that we have with everyone, God will take our side. That is not the meaning of that. Because sometimes we may be in a battle which may not be good for us. Sometimes we may be motivated by things that are bad for us in the long run. So God is on our side does not mean that God will do whatever we want Him to do. But that God is on our side means He wants our ultimate well-being. Then, so this is what is the first thing our studying of Shastra and our associating with devotees, that Krishna cares. And then, after that, I will be on Krishna's side. That I will choose to be on Krishna's side. Krishna is on my side, I will be on Krishna's side. So in one sense, that this is faith. That God cares. God is on my side, that is faith. Now from faith comes surrender. That I will be on Krishna's side. So the whole Gita's philosophy was in one sense meant to help Arjuna understand that Krishna was on his side. And then Arjuna said, yes, karishye vachanam tava. I will be on your side, O Krishna. And then there is a union. There's this devotional union that comes up. So when we say, I will be on your side, what it is, Krishna said, it essentially means we are telling Krishna, I am yours. That manasa deho geho jo kichu amar. Whatever is mine, Krishna, by offering it all to you, I am offering myself to you. Bali Maharaj, he offered his kingdom. He offered everything good he had. Then he offered his own head. And he is the emblem of surrender. Atma samarpanam. Complete surrender of being. So I am yours. And that devotional union means that this I am yours is there also, but along with that, you are mine. So we need to progress. First understand Krishna is on my side, but that means I need to offer myself to Krishna. When we offer ourselves to Krishna, the more we offer ourselves to Krishna, then we will have that spiritual right to say, Krishna, you are mine. That Prabhupada could just construct a shed and pray to Krishna, please stay here. Please stay here. And I will build a temple for you. That was Prabhupada's personal promise that he made. Now, if what happens is, if we don't say, I am yours, before we claim from Krishna, you are mine. Yesterday we talked about having too much expectations from Krishna. And how the problem can be of being attached to our expectations. Now, Srila Prabhupada endeavored enormously in Krishna's service. And Prabhupada said that the success I got exceeded even my expectations. At the same time, among all the projects that Srila Prabhupada invested his time and energy in, there was one project that he fought for the most, which was that Juhu project. And if we see, Srila Prabhupada departed in 1977, November 14th. And the Juhu temple was inaugurated on January 14th. Just 2 months later. And Prabhupada could have said to Krishna, Krishna, please let me stay just for 2 months so that I can see this temple opening. And it was a completely spiritual desire. It was something that Prabhupada had given his life for. But then when Prabhupada was asked toward the end of his life, do you have any last desires? Prabhupada said, Kuch ichha nahi. So, that was the exalted surrender. It is one thing to let go of our material desires. But it's also sometimes we need to let go of our spiritual desires. Prabhupada saw that Krishna had empowered him to do many wonderful things. But Prabhupada also saw that he is one part in Krishna's plan that involves many, many parts and many, many people over many, many generations. Of course, nobody's part will be anywhere near as significant as Srila Prabhupada's part. But still, it was a part. And when Prabhupada said, I am yours, Krishna, if you want me to live so that I can see this temple, then I will live. But if you don't, I am yours. And Prabhupada surrendered to Krishna's will. So we cannot, at a material level in Karma Kanda, we make Krishna into our order supplier. Now, at a spiritual level, we can say Krishna is eager to fulfill a devotee's desire. But that does not mean necessarily that every single desire of a devotee will be fulfilled, even if it is pure, even if it is spiritual. So that willingness to accept is very much there. A devotee's heart is surrendered to Krishna. Tvat bhavat ayushyam naha. But here, The gopis, when they are speaking, they are saying, Krishna, our concern is not for us, it is for you. We cannot bear that because of being upset with us, because of something that we may have done, you have gone away and your feet are being pierced by the stones and the thorns and the bramble and the various things in Vrindavan, the twigs and all the sharp things that are there in the Vrindavan forest. Now at one level we can say there are no sharp things in the Vrindavan forest. We know that when first time Krishna went out, Krishna chose not to wear shoes because he told Mother Yashoda that if I am going to wear shoes, then all the cows should be having shoes. And Mother Yashoda said, I don't have so many shoes. So then Krishna said, I am not going to wear shoes. So that the cows were hearing that. So then by Yogamaya's arrangement, their ropes got released and they went out in the forest and with their hard hooves, they pounded on all the places in Vrindavan and they reduced all the stone over there to fine powder, basically, to very smooth dust. So in one sense, there is nothing that will hurt Krishna's feet. But that is the gopis' apprehension, that let there be nothing that may hurt Krishna. So Krishna, please return. So that selflessness of the gopis' concern for Krishna is the concluding note. That Krishna, whether you reciprocate with me or not, our concern will always remain for you. Normally, in any relationship, if we feel other person doesn't care for us, why should I care for you? Isn't it? So, but the gopis are saying that even if you don't care for us, we still care for you. We will always care for you. The concluding verse of the Shikshashtakam is what? That Ashlishyava padaratam pinashtumam. That if you come, sometimes you may come and you may deal with me so harshly as if I feel as if you are trampling us under your feet. And sometimes you may just go away. Adarshanam marmahatam karotava. You may go away and leave us broken-hearted, but mat prananathas tusa evana paraha. You, O Lord, are the Lord of my life. You are my prananath. It is you who I live for. It is you for whom I will die. It is jivane marane gati arana himora. So that is the expression, the concluding expression of the gopis' love for Krishna. I'll summarize what we discussed today. 3 verses. So we talked in the first verse about how memories should lead to desires. That for us in Bhakti, we're trying to cultivate remembrance of Krishna. For the gopis, their remembrance of Krishna's specifics, Brihadura Shriya, and also the intimate conversations, Rahasi Samvido, all those are leading that Ati Spruha. So for all of us, the remembrance needs to lead to desires. And we talked here about how memories can be, they can be intellectual, they can be emotional. Whichever way it is, ultimately, we want to come to the level of desiring Krishna. And so, if we want to have that desire for Krishna, that we need to cultivate. So sometimes we may have the desire coming from our mana, but otherwise we can have from our buddhi the desire for Krishna. So then in the second verse, we talked about this theme that the gopis are saying that, you please come back for everyone. So blessing, we discussed a blessing in one is meant to be a blessing for everyone. So with our blessings, we try to create in some way the vibhutis. That we can say the blessing itself is a vibhuti, but that blessing is used to create vibhutis. So somebody creates a magnificent temple, somebody creates a beautiful dressing, somebody creates in the sense of gives a beautiful class. So through all of these, the vibhuti is a resource, it's an aid for remembrance. And through this aid for remembrance, each one of us can be enhanced in our remembrance for Krishna. And then lastly, we talked about the theme of selflessness. That in the bhakti journey, we move from first that Krishna cares. That is faith. Then I will do your will. I am yours. That Krishna is on my side, therefore I will be on Krishna's side. That is our surrender. There is faith, then there is surrender. And then there is a devotional union, which is often called communion, which is Krishna, that you are mine and I am yours. So I am yours also there and you are mine. So for a devotee, the surrender means that the devotee has strong spiritual desires, but those desires don't limit the devotion. That the devotee has desires for Krishna, in the sense that desires for serving Krishna. And then there is the desire for Krishna. And the desire for Krishna is always greater than the desire for serving Krishna. That's how Prabhupada was able to accept that even when Krishna didn't let him see the Juhu temple, Prabhupada gracefully departed from the world. So this is the beautiful contemplation of the gopis' prayers to Krishna. Let us all pray that we can also, through this glimpse of their very exalted devotion, get the inspiration and the motivation to take at least a few steps forward from where we are in our bhakti, so that we can also enter into these, eventually into this universe of exalted, intimate love for Krishna. Shri Gopi Gita ki, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sai Gaur Premanande.